Hey, and welcome to the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea podcast, an adulting advice podcast production. I'm Danny Sheriff, and this is the place to come if you care about getting your period regularly. This podcast aims to educate, inform, and keep you motivated on your period and HA recovery track. Let's dive in. Hey guys, and welcome. Danny here. I wanted to introduce this episode to explain how this podcast is going to work and to recap what hypothalamic amenorrhea, or HA for short, is. Because the likelihood is that if you're here, you actually have some idea about what HA is, but to be safe, here is a quick definition. Hypothalamic amenorrhea is a condition in which menstruation, your period, stops for 3 or more months due to a problem involving the hypothalamus. So skipping a period here and there due to stress or, those kinds of stress factors is something that we're going to discuss ad nauseam during this podcast. And the thing is, it's actually pretty common and somewhat normal. It's your body's protective mechanism behind avoiding pregnancy during a stressful time. But missing 3 is an alarm bell that is trying to tell us this is going on for too long and it's time to take action. Because of this, 3 months is widely accepted as a time frame in which HA becomes a problem and is a condition that you have. Now, we said that this is a problem involving the hypothalamus. Sorry, guys. Those words are just hard to say. We said that this is a problem involving the hypothalamus, which is in the center of the brain, and it controls reproduction among many other things that it does. Over time, we're going to talk more and more about this, but my goal is to get some amazing experts on the show to dive deeper in with me, because I am not actually a doctor. I'm a patient. So quick disclaimer, none of this is medical advice. I've been through HA and it's become a huge part of my life and my community. Through my struggles and my recovery, I've met and helped a bunch of other women, and that is really what prompted the decision to make this podcast. Check out episode 2 of this podcast to listen to my specific story about HA, but for now, let's go over how this podcast will work and its goals. This podcast, for now, intends to be a single season podcast. Who knows? If people love it, I'll continue, but I feel like I can create a binge-worthy single podcast series for women who want a crash course in HA. I'm not sure how many episodes I'll release at this time, but I wanted to get started now. I want this podcast to be educational, talking to experts in the field like nutritionists, dietitians, and exercise physiologists. I want this podcast to be inspiring, hearing firsthand stories of recovery from other women, and also relatable firsthand stories of the trials and tribulations that come with dealing with HA. I want this podcast to be a safe place. I know that when I was first dealing with HA, there wasn't a lot of resources out there to listen and learn from. So I'm hoping that this is a first response place for people to head to, and like I said earlier, binge all the episodes, and so that they can feel a little more clear on what's happening inside of their body right now and when you're having a bad day, because what happens with HA recovery is just hard, and you can come here to feel better and feel focused when you're having those thoughts of like, is this the right thing to do? Am I understanding things properly? I want to go back in the other direction. You can come back here, listen to an episode, and realign. So I plan to do that by talking to body image and body acceptance experts, both myself and others, and giving you pep talks and reminders about why you're doing this along the way. So really quick, who am I? I am Danny Sheriff, and I'm a 28-year-old married girl with no kids living in Austin, Texas. I am from Australia, but I live in the States now. I've struggled with HA for many years and I've recovered from it. However, at the time of this podcast, it's very easy for me to slip back into it. My body remains pretty sensitive. I'll talk more about this in a future episode. I I was really open about my story and I shared a lot about it on my Instagram at Danny Sheriff. And as a result, I have created somewhat of a name for myself in the HA and body positivity space. So to hear more about my journey from like losing my period to recovering it, go and check out episode 2 of this episode. So that's it as an introduction to this podcast. Couple notes. I would love you, bit of house cleaning. I would love you to please subscribe to this podcast. Housekeeping, not house cleaning. A little bit of housekeeping. Guys, I would love you to subscribe to this podcast so that you can get an updated dose of HA recovery motivation when you need it. And please leave a review after you've heard a few episodes and you like it, because when other women discover they have this issue and they go into Google or iTunes and they type in hypothalamic amenorrhea and they're trying to learn more, if you give me a rating and a review, of course that's positive, this will be a high-ranking search for them and it'll be easier for them to find. So that is the value in that. So please do that. And thanks, guys. I'll speak to you soon.